All right, Gridiron Nation, welcome back to Gridiron Glory Media Day. I am here in studio for our second edition of our Coaches Roundtable, here with a slew of FAC and MVL coaches. So guys, let's get right into it. Thanks for being here. We'll start with what has been the main offseason focus for each of you guys and your teams. We'll start with Coach Hall from Jackson.
I think for us, replacing 18 starters. We were senior loaded last year. They did a great job, but trying to learn new leadership, trying to figure out our 14 seniors, are coming back, where they fit into this mix. Trying to find new roles. Very exciting off season because everyone knows every spot's wide open. So again, I think it's the competition for those spots this summer we've been really trying to stress, and then trying to figure out how this is all going to shake out at the end.
I think for me at Chillicothe, it was probably just being in the building for the first time, that first full year in the building, making sure that academics were stressed, also that the kids were getting to workouts, understood how important winter and off-season workouts were, getting things like that accomplished just to try to change and set the culture for the future.
Yeah. Coach Williams at Mine Trace?
Mine was more personnel. We lost a lot of our offensive linemen last year, and we're very young, so we had a lot of seniors last year as well. So we're trying to find that chemistry with the young group of kids, getting them in, and just trying to gain confidence and experience.
Philo?
I think with us, kind of the same thing that Coach said there. We had 16 seniors last year, and trying to find guys to step up and fill in those gaps on both sides of the ball. A lot of our players played JV football last year, and it was a reality check for them this summer that now they're in those leadership roles, and that feels a little different to a teenager when you're no longer an underclassman that's just kind of following the pack, but now you're expected to get out in front and lead, and some of those guys are seniors. We only have 9 seniors this year, so we're looking at quality over quantity and need those guys to step up, so that's been a focus for us this summer.
Coach?
Same for us as Coach Hall and Coach Luskin said. We lost 18 starters as well. So just getting that competition year round and trying to find guys that are now stepping up from a JV program to take those varsity roles, and knowing that there's those guys are all gone, and trying to find who can take those spots. Knowing that it's open competition, I think it's been really good for all our kids to be able to compete for those opportunities.
I think for us it was we were able to kind of get over one of the humps we've been trying to. We had our first winning season in 15 years. But for us it was more about now continuing to build and not being content with 6 wins. We want to be a program that's perennially good. So I think that was the main thing for us, not to let one finally winning year be enough for us. Just to continue to get better. And I think the senior class has been pretty good with us so far.
Keep building, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I'm curious. We'll talk about the players all year. I'm kind of curious with you guys. Game day preparation. We know for the players, probably music, getting pumped up with each other, getting ready to go hit the guy next to him. What's the preparation like for you guys? Are you guys up like that? Are you guys more subdued? Kind of what's that like? You can start with Coach Hall.
When I started off, 30 years ago, I think I had a lot of superstition. A lot of things I did each and every week, and then figured out, very quickly that stuff didn't help you win or lose games. So I think now as I get older, that I'm less superstitious. I don't eat the same thing all the time. I don't, get dressed at the same time. Just quirky things a lot of guys do. But I think the biggest thing is just getting, the final preparations. As a head coach, it's so much about not necessarily the X and O's, but making sure buses are on time, making sure that you got the right equipment, make sure your equipment truck's ready to go. All your sideline stuff now with all the technology we're all using. I know me and Coach Bart, that was way before. That's new stuff for us, but making sure that stuff is ready to roll. So a lot of it's behind the scenes things that a lot of parents and fans don't see that become very crucial night of the game.
Coach Bartholomew?
I think over the years, I just kind of all the things that he says, just kind of makes sure you're focused so much on that, about making sure everything's ready when you get there, so that you are prepared. I think everything you do during the week has to lead up to that type of thing. I think when I was younger, and Andy makes reference to I was coaching when Andy was playing quarterback. So he is not as old as I am. But the few years I spent, I was just telling these guys, the few years I spent with my son, kind of took me from an old school guy to now I had to see what a young coach is doing, how he's doing it, how they handle it. And I still laugh at the very first time we were on a bus, we were going to John Glenn, and the bus breaks down on 70. I'm like, as a head coach, I would have been losing it right then on a game day. The bus breaks. My son's laughing and joking, getting off the bus. He said, "Dad, just sit here, fellas. The first bus will go take everybody, and then they'll come back." And, so different coaches handle it different ways. I've learned to be a little bit more laid back on game day than I used to be because of things like that.
Yeah, Coach Williams.
Yeah, I'm up there in age as well. And I've been around this a while, and I've changed my outlook on it many different times in the different places that I've been to. But it's definitely a preparation throughout the week. So you're prepared by Thursday night, and then you're just checking the boxes on Friday. Making sure that everything is in place and in order. But just making sure that the kids are in the right frame of mind and doing the right things, and how are they preparing more so than you are checking for the equipment, the box truck, making sure that it's there, it's going to be there, all that stuff. But that stuff you prepare during the week, you get prepared a Thursday night, you feel a little bit more comfortable about it, and then you can think about game planning and stuff. But my Friday is really focused on the kids and making sure that they are preparing the right way.
Coach Linscomb.
Yeah, these guys have been around the game a while. Totally, I'm learning a lot just sitting here. I do a lot of praying and a lot of delegating on game day, and so that's just so I can kind of get focused. And one thing I've tried to do over the last few years is limit the number of conversations that my coaches have with their players on the day leading up to the game, because you can overthink things a lot and second guess your game plan and who's where and how you should handle certain looks. And I think burnout can definitely set in on game day, especially with teenagers, when you're thinking of all those last minute little messes that you have to clean up. And at the end of practice on Thursday, the hay's in the barn, and just making sure guys get treatment, make sure they're as close to 100% as possible before kickoff. And if we do decide to make any last minute adjustments, that's something that we really need to talk about a lot in the coach's office, so that we don't overwhelm the kids with too much information. We want to keep it simple for them. We want them to be able to play fast and with a lot of confidence. So the last minute stuff on game day is something I really try to stay away from, unless there's late breaking news like so and so is not dressed, or they're starting this kid at quarterback. Things like that. Of course, you have to adjust to. But Friday is kind of a quiet day, as much as we can make it, so that the kids can just relax and focus and go have fun.
Just trying not to forget our red and blue wristbands, so that the players know which way is right and left. That's my biggest fear. And then putting them on the right wristband. Last year, there was a game we had them on the wrong arm, and we ran a play that we had practiced going to the right, and all of a sudden now it's going to the left, and it just utter chaos. So my biggest thing on Friday is making sure I've got the wristbands and that they're on the right wrist. But just trying to stay calm. I think it's easy to be excited and have your butterfly. I certainly haven't coached as long as some of these guys. Not that you're old, just I would like to think I'm a little young, and it's still just the excitement that's there. I'm sure you guys feel it as well on that Friday night. There's not a feeling like it, and so trying to stay calm where you're not jittery and overthinking things and trying to think, well, did we do this? Did we do that? Like everybody else has said, just your preparation is done by Thursday. There's nothing new that you can do on Friday, nothing that you can massively change and overhaul. So. Just trying to keep everybody focused on what they need to do, and then to go out and execute and, like I said, have the right wristbands on the right wrist.
Yeah, for sure. Coach Bowman.
Coach Ward kind of hit on it a little bit there. I try to keep an aura of calm confidence, because that's sort of what I want our kids to play with. Obviously I want them to be confident, but you don't have to be over the top with your mentality. Just because obviously any time in a football game you're going to have ups and downs and all of that. So you kind of have to be able to keep that even keel a little bit. And Coach kind of mentioned like those Friday night preparations. That's I don't know if this just helps me remain calm or whatever, but I have to do things like set up our camera and set up our headsets. Like some of the stuff that I very easily could tell one of my assistants to do, but for me that's the only way I'm able to be 100% confident. Okay, I know I checked that one. I know I checked that one. Okay, we're good. And then now I'm not second guessing this, that, or the other. So that's just kind of the way I've found out for me, that's the way I'm able to kind of remain a little bit calm, once kickoff hits.
Yeah, sometimes kind of keep your mind off of the game plan and all that kind of stuff, yeah. So we've talked a little bit, some of our coaches here on the panel have been coached a little bit longer than others, but I'm curious, what are some coaches or schemes, different offensive or defensive schemes that you guys have looked up to, whether it be other high school coaches, college coaches, or NFL coaches?
I'm unfortunate enough, and Coach Barton and I are kind of the same situation. My father's coaching with me now, and he came with me in '09 when I started at Jackson. He's 78 years old now. I played for him at Wiersburg in the late '80s. Followed his career, of course, as I was growing up and moving on through my young coaching career at the time. But to have him on my staff has been great. He gives us almost that grandfather feel to these kids. He'll tell stories about when I was coaching in 1975, and we get into those types of deals. But our kids really look up to him as that grandfather figure. And the new age of kids and what they do today kind of drives me nuts at times. But it gives our staff, who my dad and myself, and then a lot of our guys are in their late 30s, early 40s. So it gives them a chance to kind of see what the history has been, and we can compare notes about what they've done in the past and so forth. But I really enjoy coaching with him, and that gives us an opportunity to do a lot of things, not just as coach, but father and son as well.
Yeah. Coach
I think, obviously mine started back years ago. My dad coached me in baseball, and watching him and see how much he enjoyed it. But once I got into high school, Jeff Helser was an assistant coach. He was my math teacher. Kind of looked up to him and ended up following him to Wilmington College and then everything. And then once I got to Oak Hill and started my career, I really wanted to be a baseball coach. I was a baseball player in college, and that's what I wanted to do. And the next thing I know, they hired a guy by the name of Jeff Conroy, and Jeff made me his defensive coordinator, and I coached with Jeff for 4 years. We became very good friends. In that 4-year span, we were 47-3, I think. And so it was a pretty impressive 4-year run. And so he impacted me a lot in the way that he approached the kids, the way he talked to them. And so I got to give him a lot of credit for the way that we turned things out. I met the guy, but never really knew him. But like Paul Culver was an assistant or a coach at Trimble when Jeff was at Trimble. And so the playbook from Paul went to Trimble, went to Waverly, came to Oak Hill, went from Oak Hill to Westfall. So there's a lot of people in the time that have an impact on you, but I think those are some of the bigger names that I think would have helped me along the way.
I also have a number of people that have impacted me over my football career. And out of high school, I played for Raleigh DeLong, and was at Big Walnut, and he was a former West Jeff player and coach, and from there, he was the one that gave me the passion for the game. But the person that really helped me from a coordinating standpoint and a coaching standpoint was Gary Keller, who was the head coach at Ashland University for a number of years. So I was fortunate enough to be able to coach with him at Mount Vernon, and that's where I first got into the DC part or the offensive coordinator part of it. So he was a big help for me. But then I transitioned over to working for Tom Watts for a while at Ohio Wesleyan. So being able to put, combining those offenses together and working with those guys, it was very impactful for me in helping me with my offensive scheming. And Tom Watts was very helpful in the overall head coaching part of it.
So, mentioned the traveling playbook. I played for Jim Sprague at Philo in the mid-90s, and he was a Fort Fry guy. So Bob Hill, a lot of with fullback trap and ISO and power, and those were things that we ran in high school, and those were things that had traveled, and the blocking rules, especially up front for the offensive linemen, those were things that gave us a lot of confidence as high school football players. So I learned a lot from Jim Sprague. My position coach in high school was a guy by the name of Reed Bachman. He was my linebackers coach on defense, my centers coach on offense, and he sent the signals into me, as the guy calling the huddle out there. So he was a disciplinarian. He was very no nonsense, but he also was very good schematically with the game. So I learned a ton from him in high school. It's funny, Coach, that you mentioned Gary Keller, because that's who I played for in college. He was my head coach at Ashland. He was also my position coach, and he was the one that signaled in to me. So he was like Reed Boffman 2.0 for me, and Gary was like a father away from home to me. Spent a lot of time in his office watching film, really watched him, and I don't know that I've ever met someone who's more passionate about what they do than Gary Keller. He was a godsend to me, so glad that you brought him up because he was very impactful in my life. You know, as I have become a head football coach, I do pick up a lot of things during clinic season when we go to Pittsburgh a lot and go to the Glazier clinics, and we've gone to Indianapolis and Nashville and some different places, and just little nuggets. It's not so much adopting a person's entire philosophy. I think you take what applies to your situation and you hone that and you sort of adapt it so that it fits your scheme. And a lot of what we do are just nuggets that we have pulled over the years, and you know, some things we try and we throw them out, but some things stick. And so, you know, from my background, bringing things, because you kind of are, I think, a sum of the guys that you played for, but then I think you also need to grow professionally, and like you said about the equipment and all the new technology that goes on Friday nights, you know, I've had to adapt to that too, and it's not my strong suit. So that's where the delegation part comes out on game night. I'm not like Chase where I need to go touch everything because honestly, there's too much for me to even keep track of with the sideline, iPads and everything. But you know, I like to stay fresh, and if there's something that can be done more efficiently, then I want to learn that as soon as possible. So we put a lot of value in the off season.
Coach Boyd?
My high school coach, first and foremost, you know, he was really big on commitment and dedication, and what success should look like. So I think that I still model a lot of things after him and how he helped us to prepare as a team. My college coach is just with more the schematic approach of things, and you know, going from just running power 90 times a game to, you know, there's more options out there. Very first head coach I worked for, John Dardinas at a small Catholic school in West Virginia, 100 kids in the entire school. You know, it wasn't, the plays didn't really matter. And he was really big on the players, you know, who you have and how you can be successful with those guys. And I think that was really the first time that we really talked about just, you know, your players and how important that they were. And I think that we see that more now, more than ever. You know, it's easy to win when you have really good players. You know, the same plays that you ran with your 3-7 team look better on an 8-2 team because your players, it's not the scheme, you know. And then I feel like that, I'm not saying this, they're sitting here, I think our league has a lot of really good coaches in it, and I think I'm still trying to pull from some of the things that they do. You know, I think Coach Culver at Sheridan, Coach Linscomb at Philo really embody great father-like figures and coaches that are just very genuine people. Coach Bowman, Coach Brown, Reagan, the amount of work and time that they put in and have tried to rebuild their programs. So I think I pick up a little bit here from our lead coach. I think we as a league are pretty tight-knit as our coaches, and we talk to each other a good bit. So I feel like I'm still kind of pulling from them. But as Coach said, I think you kind of pull from every coach that you've had and try to utilize something that you got from them.
I think for me, you know, I played at Audubon College, and the staff there, I kind of started to learn with Joe Loft and Tim Daup and Al Moore and them, sort of how to create that family atmosphere within a football program. And like when I saw them kind of coach like that, I kind of knew instantaneously that that's the way I wanted to coach. You know, when I had the chance, you know, to have my own team. You know, and then I was able to GA there for a year after I graduated, and that's where you really start to actually learn the game of football. You know, before that I played cornerback, so I knew cornerback. You know, then you start to do that, and you learn, oh, here's some defensive line technique, and you start to learn the offense a little bit more. Then after that, I went to Maysville and worked under Craig Clark there, and obviously continued learning more and more about scheme and technique and things like that. And then that's where I started to kind of learn how to relate to high school kids, you know, because before that, I had no idea how to talk to high school kids. And you know, we all know here that high school kids are a little weird. I mean, they just are. They're still kind of hormonal and all that. So you kind of figure out how you kind of can relate to that age a little bit. And I learned a ton in my few years there. And then once I was able to become a head coach, you know, Coach Boyd said he's not lying when he says that our league in the MVL is a really well-coached league, and he's right. It's a tight-knit group. You know, we're able to pull from each other, whether it's just by observation or whether we, you know, send a text or a call or meeting or whatever that may be. You I think none of us are too proud to feel like we have secrets necessarily. It's because at the end of the day, I mean, Coach Culver, I actually asked him a couple years ago. We were starting a strength and conditioning class. It was the first time we'd had that during school, and I kind of reached out to him to see what they do with theirs, and he sent me their entire lifting program. Yeah. And he told me, he said, my wife was kind of like, you really want to share that? I said, yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, and the way I kind of looked at it was we still have to execute that. It's not like you can get this knowledge elsewhere, but the fact that he was willing to put that together and just send that entire thing to me, again, kind of speaks to just our league as a whole as coaches, and we're not afraid to share ideas with each other. And I think what it kind of does is, to me, it brings out the best in each other. I don't think I'd be anywhere close to as good of a coach now if I didn't have to go against other great coaches week in and week out. So, that's forced me to be as best as I can, and I think the other coaches in the league would probably say the same.
Yeah, so we talked about the traveling playbook. We heard some similar names and the strength and conditioning, whole plan back and forth. Why is Southeast Ohio football so special to you guys, or what makes Southeast Ohio so special to you guys? So we'll start with Coach Hall.
I mean, I grew up in Wheelersburg, and of course that's a storied program. And Ed Miller, I played for him. He's in the Hall of Fame. You learn at a young age that football is everything in that town. And so as I grew up and moved on to different programs, and when I came to Jackson in '09, I realized all this was a bigger town version of what Wheelersburg was forever. I think in the state of Ohio, they're the top 25 in all-time wins in the state as a school. And so realizing that when 6,000 to 7,000 people are in the stadium on Friday nights and there's nothing else to do, people care about that. And it's fun because for 12 months a year in Jackson they talk about football and how things are going. So there's not really a time off. But again, born in that environment, was kind of used to it, and cherish it. I tell our kids that you want to be in a program like that, in a community that cares, than a community that doesn't show up on Friday nights. You go to an away game and you may have your parents and that's it. So even though there's a lot of stress that comes with that, it also comes with a lot of excitement. And I think that's going on my 15th year here, and it's something I really look forward to every Friday night.
Yeah, it sounds like both a blessing and a curse sometimes.
It is. Yeah.
Coach Bartholomew?
I think, starting my career in Oak Hill and it was Westfall, Logan, and Glen Carroll, all really, Southeastern ties. And I think the biggest thing that I see is we all have those kids that may go on and may have that opportunity to play college ball, but I think we also all see the impact it has on just the other kids and playing football, what it means to them, and how it may change their lives as they move on. How much important. It gives them that sense of responsibility and duty and stuff like that they may carry on when they're having their families and things like that. I think you just see more of that in Southeastern Ohio. So it's a little bit more passion in the way people approach it and what they want out of it. And it comes from the crowds, it comes from the communities, wherever but it's just so much fun to be a part of things like that.
Coach Williams?
I came from the north central Ohio area. That's born and raised and coached most of my career until coming down to Miami Trace. And I've really, the passion in the southern Ohio area and Miami Trace and things, it comes from the small community. It comes from that, up where I came from, all the schools are splitting into 2 and 3 schools. They're getting bigger and split, and the community feel has left, and you still have that in the southern Ohio football. And I think that is what I still, you can still go out there and you're traveling through the cornfields and stuff to go play a football game, and you get there, and like you say, there's still 2, 3, 4, 5,000 people at a ball game. That's what's nice about Southern Ohio.
Yeah.
I think it's really all about tradition in Southeast Ohio. As these guys have already alluded to, I think the best word is just tradition. The same schools that are here are the same schools that have been here. There's a lot of history. Talent comes and goes, it fluctuates, goes in cycles. We may be, the top of the MVL for a few years, and then we may struggle for a few years. And, I think everybody goes through those growing pains. And but the thing is, you still have that really solid base of people who are deeply invested into Friday nights at your place. I know for us, we have 2 stoplights in Duncan Falls, and I think they both blink at about 5 o'clock on Friday because, you know, if you're not coming to the stadium, you might as well just don't even stop
No
going
need
through
for it.
town.
No need for it.
So it's special, and being at, you know, we're a Division IV school, so we're kind of, as far as the state of Ohio, we're right dead in the middle of the pack as far as size. And that's a good place to be. We can still kind of play off of the, hey, you know, we're just a little small rural school district, but at the same time, you know, we have enough kids that we can make it competitive. And, you know, I think people see that, and like Coach said, you know, football is important in our community. It makes it fun to be the football coach when you know that what you do is relevant. It is a double-edged sword because your words do matter. And even to those kids that you were talking about, they might not be able to help us a lot yet, but we can help them every day. And when they leave our program, we want to know that we've added some value to their lives, maybe held them accountable when no one else would, give them a sense of responsibility, and, you know, let them know that their actions do matter, and it doesn't just impact their own life, but the lives of people that are associated with them. So it really is a blessing. It's a stressful blessing. So we all want to win, and we almost all want to win at all costs, but what we're really in this business for is to help the young men of our communities and try to build stronger families. So, you know, that tradition hasn't changed.
Yeah. Coach
You
Porter.
see what I'm saying? Like, how could you not want to play for this man?
Ready to run through a brick wall.
I was practicing on the way down.
No, I'm not from Southeastern Ohio. I would say the fanny pack of Southeastern Ohio. I grew up in Williamstown, West Virginia, so right across the river. So
Yeah.
not quite in there, right? But right down the edge. But the biggest thing I think that you know, that I relate to is just the small community strength. You know, football's the big thing in town, and I think I see that and feel that at New Lex. And obviously, we don't play these guys, but you hear about their schools and the same kind of thing. The strong communities and football towns, and the town shutting down for everybody to go watch on Friday night. So I think that's what I kind of resonate the most with, is just feeling like it's the most important thing. You got a ton of community support no matter what you're doing, and the whole town being there to watch your kids perform on a Friday and tell you, you know, hey, could you please call the right play, or not go for 2 every now and again. You know? So.
Yeah, Coach Bowman.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's, for me, it's first and foremost the community, the small town community. You know, we're one of those who, we're the only high school in the county, so we kind of have a few communities, but, you know, as far as sports go, it's one. Whether it's McConnellsville, Malden, Stockport, Pennsville, you know, we're all the same community. And just kind of how important football is, and that's one of the things we're preaching to our kids that while we're in that rebuilding process, is just how supportive our community is and how much they want their football team to be good. You know, and I think our kids finally got a taste of that last year, and the community support. You know, I mentioned this last week when we were in Zanesville for the media day. You know, when we went to St. Clairsville it was the first playoff appearance since 2000, and like, it felt like the entire county was lined up Main Street, you know, to see us out of town. And it was probably my favorite athletic memory in my life, player, coach, whatever. So to me, that's huge. And Coach Barty talked about the kind of the impact you can have on kids. You know, the vast majority, like you said, of our kids aren't going to go play college ball. You know, we try to get as many of our kids to want to do that, to be able to do that as possible. But the reality is most won't. But we still have a strong responsibility to have a positive impact on them. And I think that, you know, guys like us, that's what we try to do. And you know, I think, I guess for me, what I look at it is, you know, I want to try to help create men who I'd want to be neighbors with. You know, you're creating the next generation in your community. So yeah, that's obviously, like, you know, Dirk said, we all want to win games. This, you know, wouldn't go out there and play football otherwise, but the impact is constant. No matter if you're in the up or down, the impact you can have on kids is pretty special.
Yeah. Well, coaches, that's all the time we have today. I thank you guys so much for being here, being honest with your answers. We're excited to see you guys and your teams throughout the years as they progress. As for the viewers, if you haven't gone and watched the TVC Coaches Roundtable, go and do that. And we still got 2 more to go. So we'll see you later.